and it's not only survived, it's thrived.
I think I'm going to put some nematodes into the garden to combat vine weevil.
I mean, look at that, that's crazy that that has just grown in the compost heap like that. So you know when you're in spring as a gardener, when you can get out to the garden but you require your Stanley cup to keep your coffee warm, and you're still wearing your marigolds because the soil is still just so wet. But I've come out because I'm actually determined to do a bit of gardening today. So we got some muscaris, we got some more muscaris, which is the little blue flower that you can see behind me underneath the olive tree. I'm not sure if it is listed, categorized as a wildflower. I consider it kind of to be a wildflowering bulb. So it's kind of in the same category for me as like kind of snowdrops, bluebells and muscaris. We found this one in the front garden. It was kind of in a really silly position and it needed to get moved, and it was just one flower. And I think it had just completely naturalized by itself. I don't know how it had come into the garden to begin with. And I moved it here thinking, well, I'll put it under the olive tree and see if it goes, if it survives, if it does anything. And it's not only survived, it's thrived. So I want to pop some more into the herb garden around the herbs in a kind of more of a random fashion so that they kind of look like they've naturally grown there. It's just going to give us a really nice splash of blue color when things are still looking a little bit gray when the sun's not out. So unfortunately, the little mini garden centre that we went to for these, they only had 8 left. So I've only got 8 to plant, but I actually needed quite a few more. So I'm going to see if we get lucky and if there's any at the Percy Garden Centre later on this week, because we are just going to pop in there quickly. So I'll see if they've got any, but if not, then at least we've got 8 in this year, and then I'll just have to wait until next year and then add some more next year. I'm going to pop 2 muscaris underneath this lovely bay leaf tree. This bay leaf tree was my grandfather's and it's at least 40 years old, and it certainly had an interesting life given how many times it's been repotted and moved house, but he's thriving, very happy. So I think a couple of muscaris under there would be really nice. And also I think last night I spotted the blackbird in here inspecting this to see if he's going to potentially nest in here this year. So if we do have the blackbirds nesting in there, at least I'll have some pretty muscari at the bottom of their tree. So I think that these are well placed because also that's our kitchen window. So it's just really nice when you look out the kitchen window in the afternoon and you see all of this bed with a little bit of extra colour in. I think it's going to be really good. Yeah, so this year what I want to do is I want to raise the level up inside these beds because it's dropped so much. This is the problem with kind of raised beds, is that over the years it actually starts to sink, it starts to compact. So that's where we're kind of like 1 inch, 2 inches beneath the plastic, which you're not supposed to see. So we need to come in and top these up, and I'll do that later. Maybe kind of in the late spring, we'll come in with some bags of soil and just really kind of pad it all out.
Yeah, good idea. So while Kirsten gets on with that, I think I'm going to put some nematodes into the garden to combat vine weevil. We had a big outbreak for the first time last year. They devastated a lot of Kirsten's heucheras. They're really quite destructive little beetles because the actual larvae, they eat through the actual roots itself, and the beetles come out at this time of year, and those are the ones that actually eat the leaves. The leaves are actually not too bad. I mean, it doesn't really affect the plant too badly, but the little larvae really did devastate a lot of the plants that we had. So we garden as naturally and organically as possible. So we don't want to be applying any pesticides or herbicides that are going to potentially affect the wildlife. And we've obviously got Olive and Leopold that run around in the back garden. So that's why we like to use nematodes, because they are biological controls. They're completely natural. What we typically do is we just mix them up in a watering can and then basically apply them in and around the garden wherever it's affected. So you're not actually having to spray, so you're actually controlling where the nematodes end up.
So I think I just got rained on about 3 times, so I'm a bit sopping wet now, but it's done, it's in, and you're doing the...
It looks great.
They're doing the heucheras.
It's actually a really good day to be doing this on because it's overcast and rainy, so it's actually going to wash the nematodes down into the soil.
Yeah, and that's a really good point actually. If it's the first time you've been doing this, the nematodes are UV sensitive, so it's not a good idea to do it on a really, really blazing sunny day because it can just, you know, almost damage or kill some of the nematodes. Better to do it when it's overcast. So yeah, you're right, this is a perfect day to do it. Like a little confession, as a gardener, sometimes you do just kind of, you know, do things that you shouldn't do. And last year I was clearing out a pot of daffodils in the studio, and I came out here and I just turned the pot upside down and kind of shoved the soil into the rest of the bed, and like 3 or 4 bulbs kind of fell out. I didn't think anything of it. Oh, they'll decompose in the flower bed. No, they've actually sprung up. And we've now got daffodils growing kind of where they shouldn't be growing, but they kind of look pretty, right? Because it kind of just looks like it's naturalized in those areas. It is funny with gardening, you know, you really feel like you need to follow the rules so precisely, and you know, you kind of worry that, oh, you know, it says, did I plant the bulbs like, you know, 2 inches or 3 inches or 6 inches, and did I do it? And you're kind of measuring it, and then you kind of just chuck them in a flower bed and they just kind of grow, so you just kind of think, oh goodness gracious. It does just go to show with gardening, it's all about kind of luck as well as skill. So we're going to plant up a couple of pots for Easter of flowers, one for us for indoors, and the other one could be indoors or outdoors, and that's going to go to a friend. We're going over to have coffee with them in the next couple of days, and I just thought it'd be nice to take them a pot of little flowers that they can put on their front doorstep over Easter and have a little bit of colour and a little bit of spring joy. But for our pot, I'm going to add a couple of kind of branches just for decoration. There's a couple of plants that are actually in bloom at the moment. I've got some lovely flowers on them, and they're just going to add that little bit of extra to the plant pot. So there's this one, which my friend tells me she thinks it's like an American raspberry or something like that, but it's definitely part of the ribes family, which basically is the berry family, so raspberries, blackberries, that kind of thing. But once a year it comes up with these gorgeous pink flowers. They are so pretty. So I just want to take a couple of cuttings of that to put in the pot. And then on this side we've got this one, which again I'm not really sure what it's called, but it's got these gorgeous pretty little yellow flowers, and again, they, between the two of them, they just look kind of really Eastery to me. So just a nice bit of kind of spring in the plant pots.
As I was filming Kirsten put together the Easter displays, we were just talking about bulbs, and I happened to remember that yesterday when I was down at the compost heap, which I'm not going to show you because it's a bit of a state, we must have emptied some tubs at some stage last year, and there's a whole batch of hyacinths that have come out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down, see if we can salvage any of those.
So I'm mean, look at that. That's crazy that has just grown in the compost heap like that. I mean, look how tall and leggy that is, because it's obviously had to get through so much soil and compost. I'm not going to put them in the pots for indoors, but please do go plant them. Plant them out around where those daffodils are, under the tree, and then we'll just have kind of like almost kind of a wild effect of daffodils and hyacinths. It's so pretty. There's even there's a beautiful purple one in here.
Really
look
nice.
at that one. And then there's a nice pale pink one. The resilience of bulbs though, this is I think why I've got far more of a love affair with bulbs than I do with seeds, because it's just, they are relentless. They're just so hardy. It's amazing what you can do with bulbs. So yeah, go put them in there. Fantastic. Change of plan, I'm going to put it in this basket because my very favourite tea towel company, Wonder Coin, has very kindly sent me their new tea towel design, which is absolutely gorgeous, so I've got to use it. And it's the tulip tree. I've never heard of the tulip tree before, and that's one of the things that I really appreciate about Wonder's designs, is that she uses historical botanical designs, like antique prints. They're just so educational. I mean, like, I've never heard of the tulip tree, and I've just Googled it online, and it's a really lovely tree, and apparently you can get it more in the south of England, and it has this really pretty kind of yellow flower that kind of looks a bit tulipy, actually. But it's just so lovely, and her colours and just everything are just so pretty. So I'm going to use it to line this basket so that we get a really nice splash of colour. Wild today, but I'm just living with it. Yesterday we got some geraniums at the garden centre, and all these geraniums that you see in here, I think nearly all of them, well, I've definitely had some of them for 3 years, but some of them I've had for like nearly 5 years, and I just keep them in here all year round. I just really love the fact that they just flower for me all year round, and they're really lovely. The problem is that some of them have become really leggy, which basically means that the stems just really got very long. And you kind of obviously want it bushier, because the more bushier you've got, the more flowers you'll get. So this is obviously not kind of ideal, even though it is very beautiful and she's a gorgeous colour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to repot these, put the new ones in, because the new ones are looking really beautiful, and some of these are kind of different colours, so it kind of be nice to have kind of similar colours all the way through. So we're going to take these out, and then I'm going to cut them quite aggressively and try and get them a bit bushier, put them into just plastic pots, stick them in the studio and basically grow them on for a couple of months, and then hopefully they'll be bushy enough for me in June to put them into plant pots outside and use them as kind of bedding plants, flowering plants for the summer. So the sun has finally joined us, which is amazing. I think that last night and into this morning was the last of our rain for at least a week.
Fingers crossed.
So that's amazing. So everything is just looking so much more beautiful and bright and cheerful, and you can see the lovely blue sky. The Muscari is looking blue and glorious in the herb garden behind us, and the sheep and lambs are finally starting to arrive on this field at the end of the garden. We've got one sheep and her lambs up there, but I think more are coming today with the farmer, so that's really exciting. So we've already started to plan the week ahead, because I think it's going to be busy, which is great. We'll be able to clear the veg beds in the vegetable garden. It was nice to be able to still do the Easter display this week and get some Easter flowers in the house, and the house is looking more cheery as well, with the geraniums and then the Easter kind of flowers we've got on the windowsill. So yeah, it's all starting to come together and be a bit more springy. So I hope you enjoyed this vlog, and I hope you've had a really relaxing, lovely weekend, and you've managed to get a bit of this gorgeous sunshine and enjoy it outside. And we will see you in next week's video. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.
Bye.